இப்ப கேக்குதா பாரு. Unlimited வருதானா? சவுண்ட் கேக்குதா இல்லையா உங்களுக்கு?
A pleasant good evening to you all. Welcome. Good evening. Sir will come and join within 2 minutes. We'll start the program. We'll start the program within 2 minutes. Good evening, sir.
No, Josephine, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening. Good evening.
You're welcome.
can start, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes. The world is full of diamonds and gems, and we are having some of them here today to build this event. A very warm good evening, galaxy of intellectuals, invited guests, professors, and students present here at this auspicious and long awaited August occasion. Today, in the long march of a JAC, the PG Department of English is a completion of 50 years to service of our college to the society. The department is going to make a milestone through this historical and the first ever convened webinar on global indigenous literature. Thank you to each one of you for being here with us today. Prayer works wonders. Prayer should spring from the heart. Let us begin our session with a prayer song, the reading of the Bible, followed by prayer.
A reading from the Gospel of a book of Ezra, chapter 3, verses 11. With praise and thanksgiving, they sang to the Lord. He is good. His love towards Israel endures forever. Word of the Lord, thanks be to God.
Dear Almighty and ever-living God, we glorify and thank you thee your name. You have showered us with so many blessings, and your presence continuously reminds us of your faithfulness and guidance. We humbly ask your greatest inspiration so that we may share the most knowledge and may we also observe the invaluable knowledge experiences and put it into practice what we may learn today. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Words are rose petals that are sprinkled with fragrance to invite one and all with warm greeting. Not merely words, our heartfelt feeling filled with emotions add flavor to welcome you. I now invite Dr. G. Patricia Alfin Nirmala, Assistant Professor and Head Department of English, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Distinguished dignitaries on the virtual dais, respected professors and aspiring scholars, and dear participants from all over the world, heartfelt welcome to the second day of the webinar series. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of the management of Jairaj Annapakyam College for Women to all the participants present in Google Meet and YouTube Live. Our experience with COVID-19 pandemic has convinced us that It is only through multifaceted personalities from multilateral universities can truly accelerate progress in the aspiring minds who are physically locked at home. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Dr. Armstrong for accepting the invitation and presiding over this webinar and enlightening us on global indigenous literature. It is an opportune moment to refurbish our knowledge with our esteemed professor from the University of Chennai for the day to have the interpretation and understanding of indigenous literature. It is our immense pleasure to welcome you, sir. The registration details of today's webinar has proven the passionate 354 intellectual minds waiting for your lecture. We thank the Lord for making use of us to connect all of us under your expertise. On behalf of the organizing committee, convener, we welcome all the participants who have gathered in the virtual room. I express my special gratitude to the convener and organizing secretary of the webinar for the efforts they have taken. Every participant is given a platform to gain understanding, focus on essential aspects of research, improve the knowledge, to identify one's research bliss. I'm confident that we will find new ideas, fresh energy to sustain academic efforts. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I invite Dr. J. Josephine, Assistant Professor and Convener of the webinar, to introduce the speaker.
If your action inspires...
Josephine, please be very brief, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Yeah. If your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader. At this juncture, I would like to attribute this proverb to a keynote speaker, and it will have an impact on future generations. Let me introduce and welcome the chief guest of this startlingly beautiful evening amidst us. We have such an inspiring personality, Dr. S. Armstrong, Professor and Head, Department of English, Chairperson, School of English and Foreign Languages, University of Madras, and Campus Director, Chepauk Campus, who has crossed the boundaries of excellence with his great spirit towards profession, a man with great vision and mission, an icon for hard work, the epitome of simplicity, praised for his selfless service to the university and to the first generations. He strives to make connections between young minds in order to foster success and success in the publication of their research. He has presented 20 papers in the international conferences held at Sri Lanka, Australia, Thailand, Canada, USA, UK, and Italy. His specialization is Canadian First Nations Literatures and Cultural Studies. He has received Foreign Fellowship, Fulbright Nehru Visiting Lecturership in the year 2009 to 10, Shastri Indo-Canadian Fellowship during the year 1999 to 2000. He is the member of South Indian Fulbrighters Association, Indian Association for Studies in Australia, South Indian American Studies Network. He Associate Editor, the Indian Review of World Literature in English from July 2009. He is nominated by Tamil Nadu Governor as a Senate member of University of Madras in the year 2011 to 14 and the Planning Board of Periyar University 2012 to 2015. He is an accomplished writer with several published works to his credit. His books have ignited a fire in every heart that dares to dream. He is ready to share his knowledge and enhance our mental horizon. He is my all-time well-wisher, my mentor, who has helped me a lot with my doctoral research. Today's topic of Golden Jubilee webinar series is Global Indigenous Literature, which has become the widespread topic of today. In recent times, literature is serving as a vehicle in representing the underlying issues of the indigenous community. To delve deep into the topic further, I invite the resource person of the day, Dr. S. Armstrong, Professor and Head, Department of English, University of Madras, to share his expertise on the topic. I ensure that the webinar will be beneficial and the next few years will be enjoyable and fruitful for every one of you. Now I handed over the session to the resource person of the day. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Josephine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, I thank Donapakim College for inviting me to speak in this one of the important, historic academic events in your college. A college with 50 years of academic service is really a great niche in Tamil Nadu, and that too to empower women's higher education is a great task. And I sincerely thank the management for organizing this webinar series through the Department of English. And the next important thing for accepting this invite is a college in southern Tamil Nadu empowering women's education is very, very important. And when we think about the contribution of Christian institutions in India, we have to remember lot of good things that shape the minds of several generations in India. Many colleges run by Christian missionaries in India transformed higher education, and the students and lot of faculty members teaching in many parts of Tamil Nadu even today. They are all got education from the Christian institutions. So in that way, we have to salute the sacrifice and also the contribution made by Christian institutions in India. And they cut across all religions, castes, and communities to impart higher education. So that spirit should be developed in the minds of students. So that is very, very important. So to that note, I would like to share some of my thoughts about global indigenous writings. So, dear participants, I am very happy to note there are nearly 200 and more participants on this Saturday evening. It's a great news, really. I can't believe this because where all of us are very much worried about the pandemic, outbreak. And at this juncture, I'm very happy to see a lot of participants, listening to this lecture. And I thank the department and the management for, making this webinar series a great success. And I thank each one of the faculty members in your department. All the best for making this webinar a great success. So if possible, bring out as a kind of booklet, after the webinars. That will be a great contribution to the students and also some faculty members. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let me take, the entire, don't screen the slide now, Josephine. So let it be there, but I will speak and then I will let you know, okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
No, don't do this now. Yeah, please wait. Yeah. Okay. So when we, all of us are familiar with, the literatures that are available and the kind of courses that we had in our UG and PG days are evergreen even today. But many of us missed the literary experiences of nearly 80% of the people in this world. The literatures and then the literary courses and other texts that we are exposed in our mind, please note that is only the experience of 18 to 20% of the people living in this world. When you take literature of England or literature of America, we miss too many literary experiences of people around this world. We always remember British literature, right? We remember William Shakespeare and William Wordsworth. Of course, John Milton. All these writers are very, very important. But the contemporary literary world is totally different. You must know that. For instance, two things that transformed the literary corpus of this world. Number one, colonization, right? So colonization resulted in transforming the experiences of the people in this world. If you remember colonization, that you must note only the continent that colonized all other continents in this world is Europe. Okay, the one European continent, that only continent started colonizing other continents in this world. Hope all of you will remember this, right? The Europeans who started as travelers, like they started, colonizing countries, colonizing not only the lands, colonizing the minds of the people. Even today, look at the kind of higher education that we have in India. It is entirely anglicized, right? That is okay, but what happened is it has destroyed many literatures in this world. That's the problem. When you read books like The Language Death or the books written by authors like the indigenous authors in US or Canada, you must note that the English language, had destroyed, like thousands of languages in this world. Correct. So my concern in this lecture is that we have a group of people who really worked hard for the transformation of the entire countries in this world. Each country has a community of people called indigenous people. I think all of you must note the word indigenous. I will explain. Only UNO describes who are all indigenous people, right? If you take, I start from Australia or New Zealand. Australia has got nearly more than 52 types of people, indigenous people, and they are called First Nations Australians. Okay, I don't want to use the word Aboriginals because they don't accept the word Aboriginal now. They want to be addressed by First Nations, right? Similarly, when you go to New Zealand, there are people called Maori. I think you might have heard of the word Maori. They are very rich, and they are very rich in their cultural, experiences or literary experience, artistic experiences are really rich, and they are all worried about cultural demise. Okay, the cultural destruction is very, very important in the experiences of the colonized people all around the world. Correct. When you take India, many Indian, like you take our own Tamil literature, we have rich literary Tamil tale. We have very rich, tribal writings. They are all available in the oral languages, correct? And we don't have a lot of recordings of our own, literary text that we have lost in the Lemurian continent, right? That we had, we had very rich literature that may surpass your William Shakespeare and William Wordsworth, right? Look at the richness of Tamil text, like we have Tolkappiyam and Tirukural. and all our epics, they're all, very, very rich that no country can boast of these corpus of writings in Tamil Nadu. When you take in the northeastern, tribal writings, they are very, very rich. They have varied types of songs, dance practices, and all these things. But the problem with the world is that we failed to document, we failed to record the experiences of these people, right? People who labor a lot, people who, physically work, they have very, very rich experiences in writing their, the bitterness or agony or joy, right? So we always, all of us are oriented towards only one mode of writing. And if you remember the quote from Longinus on the sublime, he talks about literature, right? He talks about two things about literature. Number one, utile et dulce. Literature is for what? Utility, usefulness, and also for and entertainment, right? So one is to inform you, one is to delight you. Okay. So literature, the dual purpose is what? To delight you and then to inform you, or to teach you, or to delight you. Okay. But if you take indigenous writings all over the world, starting from Maori writings or Australian First Nations writing, they want to liberate, right? They want to liberate their, enslavement, correct? So I would like to suggest the third role has come now in the 21st century. Literature's role is to not only to delight you, not only to teach you, but to liberate people. We need indigenous writings, correct? So the third role is very, very important. So that role was created by the global indigenous literatures, starting from Australian and also Maori. I would like to take you to the North American indigenous writings, where you will get the Canadian First Nations writings. That was my area of PhD. And if you take Canada, even the very word Canada has come from the native language. And similarly, there are about 58 indigenous languages. And only in Canada, the people started coining the term fourth world, right? The other term for indigenous writing is called what? Fourth world writing. Only Canadian native, writers started coining this term, fourth world, correct? So the fourth world writings are very, very important, and there are some debates are going on whether to call fourth world or not. But all of us are familiar with first world, right? And then the second world refers to the Russian countries, and the third world refers to all the developing countries in this world. And the fourth world refers to indigenous people in each country in this world. So all these indigenous writings could be called fourth world writing. And that is a separate area. There are fourth world theories are coming up, and lot of writers, and my own friend and myself. His name is Dr. Rajasekhar Pateti. He is a Vice Chancellor in Acharya Nagarjuna University, Guntur, right? And he's running a journal called Fourth World Literature, correct? So I am there as one of the, editors. And we would like to promote the fourth world writings that are available, in this world, right? So Canadian writings are very, very rich, and they talk about different issues that I will tell you in a poem that I have. It is Josephine will screen later. And when you take the American in the South and the North America, there are like very rich indigenous people are there in the South American countries, starting from Chile, Guatemala, and other countries. All of us, we all miss the richness of South American writing. We are all familiar with the North American writing, right? Particularly American literature, we are all familiar, but we are not familiar with the South American writing. In South American writing, we have nearly 80% of the South American writings are indigenous writings. When you go to US, we got the Native American. Not only the Native American, we also got Chicano writing. I think I will introduce this in a poem. Chicana writing refers to the Mexican American women writing. That is Chicana, N-A. And there is a Chicano writing, Chicano. Chicano refers to men's writing, correct? So all of us may not know this, right? Chicano writing and Chicana writings, they are Mexican American writing, correct? So these writings, I was affiliated with University of California in US, and where my host was a Chicana professor, Professor Ines, and she used to share a lot of good things about Chicano writings. And the form of writing that I would like to introduce here in this webinar is a testimonio. Is one of the important terms that you must, all of us must note this. Testimonial writings are the greatest indigenous literary contribution by the South American indigenous writers, including some of the Chicano writers who are there teaching in the American universities. So let me explain what is this testimonio. The word testimonio has come from the Spanish, origin, Spanish word. So please note, I can say in one sentence, testimonials can be considered as women's writings or women's apostrophes literature in this world. The reason is the Mexican American women writers consider the entire literature is patriarchal. Correct? The entire literary world is patriarchal. Number one. Number two, the entire language, English language is patriarchal. Number three, they also consider the entire research world is also patriarchal. Hope you must, follow me. You may follow me, in three things. Testimonial writers believe 99% of the testimonial writers are women, indigenous women writers from South and North America. They consider testimonial is a female gendered writing. What do you mean by this? They claim we don't want literature because your literature is extremely patriarchal, right? Your epics are patriarchal. All the epics are, all the epics in this world have, the male heroes, right? No heroines. Only Tamil epics we introduce Madhavi and Kannagi, and they are not even considered as heroines. They are very important characters. We consider them, very, very iconoclastic. But many epics in this world are patriarchal. And then Chicano writers claim that even the tragedies are patriarchal. All the tragedies in this world are patriarchal because tragedy is considered to be the superior literary genre, right? So they claim your tragedies are patriarchal, your epics are patriarchal, your language is patriarchal. So there is a necessity to redefine literature. There is a necessity to reclaim the feministic identity in literature. So for these reasons, Mexican women writers created this testimonio. Okay, let me explain what is this testimonio. So testimonios are witness narratives. Okay, let me spell the word testimonio. Testimonio. Testimonio is a Spanish word. It means witness narratives. You become a witness for your writing. Please note the very definition breaks the idea of literature. All of us are familiar that literature is based on imagination, fancy, right? But testimonials are not based on imagination or fancy. Testimonials are based on what? Fact, not fiction. We can also say testimonials or factographic literature. I repeat, factographic literature. And where are facts in literature? We very often we love to imagine and we suspend our belief and then we love to imagine. Okay, we go to the literary world by forgetting ourselves, but indigenous writings are not like that because they are all based on real life experiences. Correct? Facts are fictionalized. I repeat, fact, factual experiences are fictionalized. Just imagine. Can you imagine a novel based on your own life, based on all real experiences? That is indigenous writings. That is testimonials. Okay. Okay. When testimonials are written, on three occasions, testimonials are produced: during war, during oppression, and during revolution. So three terms I used. Testimonials are produced on three occasions: during war, oppression, oppressive experience, and during revolution. So these three words are very, very familiar in the South American continent and all over the world. Without these three words, there are no countries that you can't. Every country has got one mode of oppression, and every country has experience of a revolution, Russian Revolution, right? Or oppression and war is also very important. Second World War, Third World War, correct? So war literatures are totally different, but testimonials are produced on these three occasions. I told you there is a critic called Nancy Sapota. Nancy Sapota says, please consider testimonial as a female literature in this world, right? When males have literature like, the term literature is patriarchal. So where are literatures for women? So there is a necessity to consider, according to Nancy Sapota, that you have to consider testimonials as female writings or female literatures must be called testimonials. Correct. Okay. I told you testimonio is a Spanish word. Testimonio is produced on three occasions. And the producer of testimonials are called testimonialista. Again, I use Spanish word. testimonialista, Lista. Testimonialista is a person who can, who is the creator of testimony. Okay. Let me tell you three types of testimonials. The indigenous, writers of South America, they consider first one is individual testimonial, first type. The second type is called collective testimonial, correct? The third type is called novella testimonial, novella, Novella, novella testimonial. And the fourth one is also called digital testimonial. Some testimonials are digitized and they are also uploaded in the website. I think I have given you four types, right? Individual testimonial, collective testimonial, and novella testimonial, and then digital testimonial, correct? So these testimonials, okay, you can ask me, what could be the form of testimonial, right? So here you can, see the entire concept of testimonial is to redefine patriarchal understanding of literature. So there is even like one experience of one female is considered to be a testimonial written on war, oppression, and revolution. There are testimonials appear as poems. Some poems are also called testimonials, and also a photograph, a collection of photographs could also be called a testimonial. So I have a book titled The Telling to Live. Okay, that's a book where you can get testimonials. That was edited by my friend in California University. Her name is Ines Hernandez Avila. Let me spell it. Ines, Ines. Second name, Hernandez. It is H, not F. Hernandez. Hernandez. And Avila, last name, third name, Avila, Avila, Avila. Ines Hernandez Avila edited a testimonial collection called Telling to Live. Telling to Live, okay? So this book is considered to be one of the 20 books in the 21st century, one of the important books in the 21st century that all of us must. I have the copy at the University of Madras. If you want, you can get it from me. So this book may not be available in the Amazon, but I didn't check it actually. But if possible, try this book. I'm trying to introduce these testimonials because being a women's college, that I thought I can suggest this book for all all of us to read this, because you will get a kind of different experience of reading literature in this world. So I have the opportunity to read and teach in our department, University of Madras, where some testimonials are also performed. So there are performance-rich texts are available in testimonials, correct? So, testimonial that I thought I can introduce this genre to you, because this is very important, because and all of us must know the contemporary development and then the indigenous literature's contribution, I can say, to the world is testimonials. Okay, so I'm very happy to introduce this book, Testimonials, to you. The title Telling to Live by Ines Hernandez Avila. Okay. Okay. The next thing that I would like to introduce is, all of us are familiar with I told you colonization and immigration, okay? Those two experiences transformed the entire understanding of literature, correct? Okay. And what about the immigration and indigenous people? So there is a kind of connection that you have to remember. All of us are familiar with the immigrant writings, correct? Or we are familiar with the diasporic writings, correct? And we are also familiar with the exiled writings, okay? All are totally different. But my intention in introducing indigenous writings here is to let you know a area called
The webinar.
mixed race writing. Am I audible, Josephine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like to term this MR writings. MR writings means mixed race writings. What do you mean by these mixed race writings? Indigenous writings, all over the world resulted in, people, racially mixed. Many of you might not, think like this, right? After I told you, colonization, right? Colonization, again, a patriarchal domination over the countries and people resulted in mixing with women of the particular countries. Okay? If you take Canada, uh, there are people called meaty people, right? Let me spell meaty, Metis. Okay? It's a French word. S is silent. Meaty writings are called half-breed writing. Who are half-breed writings? The meaty people are born, the meaty children are born for the European father and then the native, the indigenous mother. So this kind of mixing took place all over the world. So all of us are familiar with Anglo-Indian, right? So in India, we have Anglo-Indian people, and very often the father, must be from the British Army, and then the mother is from India, correct? Like that. I just am telling an example. Uh, you know, uh, Please note, colonization resulted in not only mixing of languages, not only mixing of cultures, mixing of races, correct? This mixture is very, very dangerous because when you read a text titled "In Search of April Rain Tree" in Canada, the text written by Beatrice Culliton is one of the powerful indigenous Canadian writers. It is considered to be one of the powerful books in the world, In Search of April Rain Tree. So this book talks about the problems, pains of mixed race people or meaty people in Canada. Correct? So meaty writings are considered to be mixed race writings. Okay. So when you read this novel, which is considered to be a kind of autobiographical novel, I would like to introduce another term to you. It is not only autobiography, because again the term autobiography is patriarchal again. Because when you remember autobiography, you remember only Jawaharlal Nehru, correct? But they would like to introduce the term autogynography. Autogynography, women writing about her, life. So that could be called what? Autobiography. gynography. So that's a term you must remember. It's not only autogynography is a next contribution by the indigenous writers. There is also another word that you must remember, autoethnographies, correct? Autoethnographies are again, like that you can consider as one of the important genres in this world, which has come from the indigenous writings, correct? Autogynography and also autoethnography. Very often, autoethnographies are produced by many North American indigenous women writers, and they talk about their experiences, not only the individual but also the community's experiences, their own, the world views of the people. All these things are described. Okay. Okay, let me introduce the text, In Search of April Rain Tree. When you read this novel, you will come to know how people were colonized and how races were mixed, and how people who are born for the European paternity and native maternity suffer a lot. Even though they look like white children, they are not accepted. They are again considered to be the indigenous children in Canada. Recently, our Indian newspapers covered two incidents about one issue called residential schools in Canada. Correct? They got lot of skeletons of nearly 230 children in one of these provinces of Canada, in a place, in a school called residential schools. Okay, you must know what is residential school. When you read this novel, In Search of April Rain Tree, the children who are separated from the indigenous parents are housed in residential schools where they are not allowed to speak their mother tongue. They are allowed to speak only in English language, and they are allowed to read the Bible, and they are not allowed to, mix with their own brothers or sisters, and they are separated, and they are acculturated. I use the term acculturation because uh, they claim, the white men claim that your culture is very inferior, your languages are inferior, so you must learn our language, our culture is superior. Okay. So, Josephine, would you please screen the poem I Lost My Talk that would
Yes, sir.
explain. So let me explain the problems that many indigenous children faced in the residential schools in Canada. It could also be related to the stolen generation in Australia. Yeah. Okay. So this poem is considered to be one of the very, very proverbial poems to discuss the problem of residential schools in Canada. So the author is Rita Jo, right? So Rita Jo, in these three stanzas, let me read. I lost my talk. Okay, Rita Jo, one of the indigenous children, was admitted in one of the residential schools in Canada, correct? And she In this poem, she narrates her experiences and then the pain that she undergone in the residential school. In the school, I lost my talk. The first line is very important because I lost my talk means I lost my language, or I lost my cultural identity, or I lost my tradition, or I lost my worldview. Correct? The one term talk refers to multiple meanings in this poem. Why did she lose her talk? The talk you took away. In the school, residential school, what happened? The talk, again, the word talk is insisted. The talk means the language you took away. See, there are five things in this world are very important for all of us. Number one, our language is very important, right? Our culture is very important. Our tradition is very important. Our religion is very important. Our understanding of world is very important, right? But colonization in this world, particularly the European colonization, destroyed all these five things in this world. Okay, so that is what she's meaning in the second line. The talk you took away. You took away means you destroyed my language. See, I want to think in Tamil, right? You are not allowed to think in your mother tongue. You are not allowed to speak in your mother tongue. Suppose if you lose your mother tongue, what will happen? You will lose everything, right? Third line. When I was a little girl, it means what? When I was a little girl means when I was in my own cultural background, okay, they took away. Residential schools are built in Canada to separate the indigenous children from their parents in the name of civilizing, inverted commas, or in the name of educating, inverted commas, correct? At Shubinadake School. Shubinadake School is one of the residential schools in Canada, correct? So when she was a little girl at Shubinadake School, okay, they took away her language and she lost her talk. When you read from below, look at the first stanza, just read from below. Okay? At Shubinadake School, when I was a little girl, the talk you took away, I lost my talk. So you will understand now, when she was a little girl, correct, she lost her language. See, when you are very young, you are supposed to learn a lot of things in your mother tongue. So that was denied for Rita Jo, right? Second stanza. You snatched it away. Look at the word snatching. What do you mean by snatching? You take something by force without your willingness, correct? Just imagine a bird, okay, snatching the, the fledgling of a, hen, okay, a kind of, even chickens are snatched by the, very bigger birds, eagles. You snatch it away. You snatch it away. So once you snatch it away, it means what? You culturally arrested me. I can say a cultural demise took place when I was taken to residential school. And in school, what happened? I speak like you. Please note, you refers to the white man, okay, the white world. I speak like you. What happened? When I was in the residential school, I was made to speak like you. Not only speak like you, I think like you, correct? See, I speak like you is a powerful word that is called linguistic colonization. Please note. The first word, you snatched it away, refers to cultural colonization. This one poem is enough to understand the entire indigenous writing because it is a very powerful poem where the second stanza is very powerful because the first line talks about cultural colonization. The second line talks about linguistic colonization because you destroyed my language and you imposed your language, correct? And the third line is very important. I think like you. Just imagine, I think like you means what happened to the mind that was called cognitive colonization. What is that? What do you mean by cognitive colonization? Your mind was colonized, correct? When your mind is colonized, what will happen? Your entire activity will be totally transformed, correct? You are made to think like somebody, like our hybrid brinjal or hybrid apples, right? So multinational companies introduce lot of hybrid seeds. So hybrid people and people like Beatrice Culliton or people like Rita Jo, they were also considered to be one of the testing objects. Correct? I think like you. How can I think like you? Everybody has a different thinking world. I have my own understanding of the world, and you have your own understanding of the world. But when I make you to think like me, that is the greatest violence in this world. Correct? So I think like you means cognitive imperialism, or I think like you also refers to uh, like colonizing the mind, cognitive colonization. Your cognitive world is colonized. Correct? Look at the next line. I create like you. Correct? Creativity is very important for school children, right? I want to create like me, right? I want to create whatever I think. But what happens? This is called, cultural, like destruction, correct? I create like you. Last line, second stanza. The scrambled ballad. All of us are familiar with the scrambled egg, right? And in Madurai, they have a dish called kalaki. I like that. Okay, the eggs are very familiar, and we have only the scrambled egg. In Chennai also we have. But how can you can create scrambled ballad? Ballads are very important, or it may refer to the literary world of the indigenous people, right? So the scrambled ballad about my world, correct? So I want to create a world with my own experiences, my own cultural understanding, my own artistic, understanding. But I lost my creativity because of the residential school system, and I started creating what type of literature? Scrambled literature, scrambled ballad about my world, about my world. Third stanza. So now she comes to a kind of reconciliation because it is very, very difficult to oppose a powerful, force like colonization and then civilization in the name of education, right? So Rita Jo comes to a reconciliation, correct? What kind of reconciliation? He says, after all the school education, two ways I talk. Okay, what is that? Two ways I talk. I think in my language, but I talk in your language, correct? So you are culturally, you are made to be confused. So two ways I talk, both ways I say, your way is more powerful. It means what? Your colonizing project is very, very powerful. So your way is more powerful. So the last stanza, she comes to a conclusion, reconciliation. So gently I offer my hand and ask. So the colonizer, okay, is requested to, okay, come to a reconciliation. So gently I offer my hand and ask. What she is asking, Gita Jo? Let me find my talk. Because the word talk is very important. The first two lines, talk. The last line, talk, is totally different because I want my language back. Let me find my talk. It means what? I want to regain my language. I want to reclaim my cultural identity. I want to have my own, world view. I want to have my own tradition. That is the meaning of the word. Let me find my talk. Okay. Why does need to find her talk? Last line is very powerful. So only when I think in my cultural, world, I can teach you about me. Correct? So I want to teach you about me. This all the time you like Caliban. What Caliban replied? You taught me language, and I know how to curse you, right? Similarly, here, let me find my talk so I can teach you about me. See, you taught about your world, the European world, the European form.
Sir, you are muted, sir.
Oh, sorry, sir. So let me find my talk means what? So, Rita Jo has a lot to teach to the European world. So listen to me, okay? So that is her plea. So that is how, this poem can be considered as one of the powerful forms in the world to know more about colonization, to know more about civilizing mission of the European continent. Okay, so these are some of the. There are many poems that I can show you, but there are no. There's no time, and let me go to the PPT. Josephine, can you go to the PPT quickly?
Yes,
So that
PPT. Okay, sir.
okay, let me spend 2 minutes. Let her prepare. If you have any questions, you are most welcome to ask me, or one of you can coordinate, and then you can also one of you can tell me. I can answer. Let her prepare. If there are any questions in the chat box, you can also tell me. So please note, the entire world experienced this colonization, and then the entire colonizing experiences resulted in creating indigenous writings. And what happened is, the first phase is called initial discovery. When you go to New Zealand or you know, uh, or Tasmania, okay, you will come to Australia or New Zealand. The Cook's journey is very important. When you go to North American continent, Christopher Columbus was very important. So the initial discovery will be one of the important phases. And then the second one is population decline. The indigenous population very often were poisoned to death. Lot of poisoning took place in North America. So population will be declined. And the third one is acculturation, like Rita Joe's experience. So very often indigenous people were acculturated, okay, the entire world. And the fourth phase in the colonization is assimilation. So you get assimilated into the dominant culture or dominant language. Okay, fourth phase. The last, the last one is reinvention as a hybrid ethnic culture. What is that? Reinvention as a hybrid ethnic culture. Correct? So these are the five phases of the indigenous writings in the world. Number one, initial discovery and contact. Number two, population decline. Third one is acculturation, culture, and then acculturation. Correct? Next one is assimilation. You get assimilated into the dominant culture. And the fifth one is reinvention. Correct? Reinvention as a hybrid ethnic culture. I told you hybrid people, right? I told you about mixed race writings. And I also told you autoethnographies. I also told you testimonials. So these are all coming from this the fifth phase, hybrid ethnic culture. Correct? So indigenous perspectives, their literatures will talk about four important things. You can just note down. It's not there in the PPT. The world indigenous literatures share the experiences of contact and invasion. Contact means the European contact, like Christopher Columbus contacting, or James Cook contacting the New Zealand and Australia. Okay, contact and invasion will be there in indigenous writings, and the experiences of genocide and destruction. Okay, I would like to use the word decimation. Correct. Decimation is the word I would like to use. Decimation means completely destroying people, like what happened in Caribbean islands is an example for cultural decimation. It means for people are completely uprooted, the languages are destroyed, and then it will be repopulated. Right? So Caribbean experiences are one of the examples for this genocide and destruction. Correct. The third one is indigenous writings talk about resistance and survival. Correct. Resistance and survival. The last one is recovery as indigenous peoples. Like Rita Joe's claiming that I want to have my own identity, right? I want to have my own cultural identity. I want to, have my mother tongue. I want to have my tradition, right? So these are, some of the important seminal points that you get in all the indigenous writings in the world.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
I'm
yes, yeah.
presenting as the PPT, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Quickly, because I don't want to keep your eyes in the slides. Let me quickly, go to the second slide. Is visible to all? I don't know letters.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
I don't want to read lines. This is for your understanding. Who are called indigenous people. This slide will just all of you can just have a look at this slide and then read it by yourself, so that we can see all these slides. So this slide presents who are indigenous people and what are the important characteristics of indigenous people. Correct? Okay. Next slide. Just the next one. Yeah. There are different categories of indigenous people. I told you this slide is very important to. There are pastoralists. There are interrelated terms. Hunter-gatherers, farmers. Okay, but these terms are very important. Aboriginals. Okay. The word Aboriginal is derogatory now. It is no longer used in Canada or Australia. Instead, they use First Nations. Tribes. In India, we have tribes. In Canada also, they use the word tribes. First Peoples. The other term that we have in Canada is First Peoples. And we also use Native Peoples. And the word First Nations also now used in Australian. Native people are called Australian First Nations. And then I told you ethnic groups in some countries in South America, South American countries use the word ethnic groups. And then we have Adivasis in India and also autochthonous. Okay, that is the term that we get it from the United Nations organization. Next slide, Joseph. This map will let you know where are the indigenous peoples in this world. It is the people are there in Spain. Even some of the European countries also have indigenous people, and even Japan has Ainus as one of the important indigenous people. Ainus, A-I-N-U-S, Ainus. In Spain, you have Basque, B-A-S-Q-U-E-S, Basques. Okay, so almost 85% of the countries in the world, they have indigenous population. Next. When you go to Native American side, the Native Americans are very, very rich. I am in touch with Native American scholars, and they are very rich in native literary theories. We have literary theories, right? So the native literary theories are very, very powerful. And there is a separate topic that we can talk maybe later. Native Americans created a lot of literary concepts based on their writings. Okay, these are some of the names that you must remember in the native North American side. Cherokees are one of the important tribes, both in Canada and also in US. Natchez, Chickasaw, Creeks, and there is another one, Blackfoot. Blackfoot and Blackfeet are other important tribes. Blackfoot are native American, Blackfeet or Native Canadians. Okay, so they have this kind of names also. Like that, so much we have. Next. And Great Plains Indians. Again, the word Indians, I would like to draw your attention. Here, the word Indians are very often used in the North American native literature. Please note, the word Indian is not the South Indian or North Indian. This Indian is a mistaken name given by Christopher Columbus when he mistakenly landed in South America. He called the South Americans, the Native Americans, as Indians because he wanted to come to India and he wanted to have spices and gold, but he mistakenly landed and he mistakenly called Red Indians. So again, the word Red Indian is no longer used or accepted, and people are very angry because I also got this experience. If you use Red Indians, they are very angry with you because they don't want to be addressed by Red Indians because that was a phrase mistakenly imposed by Christopher Columbus on Native Americans. So they don't want to be addressed by Native Indians. But some writers in Native American writings, they use the word Indians. Some writers use Indians, but that word refers to the Native American, not our Indian. Okay, next. Those one, please be fast, more please. Yeah, buffalo is one of the important sources for the native Canadians. Okay, so and they are very rich in beadwork. Okay, and hunting knives and natural materials, baskets. Okay, colorful arts. You can see some pictures also. Next, Josephine. And this concept is very important. Iroquois Confederacy. So, this Iroquois Confederacy from the Native American side contributed a lot to the American Constitution also. Okay, so they are called. There are five important tribes will come under Iroquois Confederacy in the US. Those five tribes are Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca. Okay, these Native Americans form a confederacy called Iroquois Confederacy, and the American Constitution, they took some of the concepts used by the Iroquois Confederacy. Next one. Yeah, they are also called Iroquois Five Nations, correct? Okay, and the next one is Pueblos and cliff dwellings of the Gopi Indians that you can see now. They are known for these cliff dwellings and Pueblos. Yeah, next one, just next one. Yeah, these are some of the pictures that you must see. Cliff Palace and Mesa, these are some of the all manually created by the Gopi Indians. Yeah, yeah. Next. Yeah, This is also cano. This cano also one of the important pictures you must see. Whale hunting. The Pacific Northwest have this kind of very important sea and forest are there in the Pacific Northwest in US. Next. And Sundance is one of the important this totem poles. Like in Tamil, we can say in Tamil Kulakuri, right? Kulakuri means each community will have a kind of symbol, right? Kulakuri, right? In folklore, like that, the totem poles are very important for the Native Americans. Each tribe will have their totems, and this is one of the pictures for the totem poles. It's a kind of a cultural symbol for them. So the carvings on each totem pole told about a family's history, right? This is very beautiful picture that you can see seal hunting. And in sea, many Native American Canadians, they go for winter seal hunting. So this picture will show you this. And there are a lot of poems about whale hunting, seal hunting also. Like Red Indians, which is not accepted by Native Americans, the Eskimo in Canada is also not accepted because Eskimos are called raw eaters of fish. That's a meaning. So Eskimos do not accept this term, and they want to be called by the word Inuits, Inuit. So the Inuits are very, very important. Okay, they are the former Eskimos, and the Eskimo the word is not accepted. And I told you in the beginning about the word meaty, right? Metis. Meaty are descendants of First Nations European ancestry, and initially a specific group descendants of fur traders, but now applies to anyone who self-identifies as Metis. So Metis are born for European father and the native mother. And Metis writings will come under mixed race writings, I told you. And the example I gave, In Search of April Raintree by Beatrice Mazonier Kaliten. Okay, these are some of the native natives of Canada, and we have a lot of historical details. Next one. Yeah, this one I told you, Rita Joe's poem is an example for these residential schools. Just quickly, you can go through the lines. Okay, next. Just one next. Yeah, again, the word aborigines, don't ignore the word aborigine. The Australian First Nations, okay? So I have given you some points related to Australian First Nations. Next one. Just be next. And all of you might have read in 2008, Australian Prime Minister apologized for the historic, wrong done to the Australian First Nations, and it became globally, it was communicated, and Australia accepted that they culturally and destroyed physically, they decimated millions of indigenous population in Australia. Correct? He is one of the important, first. Next. In Australia, dream time stories are very important. Okay, the dream time stories, talks about the time. Okay, the current time, and also about the past, present, and future. And dream time stories are known for sacredness. Okay, time before time, time outside time, time of creation of all these things are describing dream time stories. It will teach you and it will connect you with the ancestral world. So this is one of the important features of dream time stories. Next. Yeah. So this slide, you want to spend some time. Okay. So I told you about cognitive colonization, right? So indigenous literatures, they are known for epistemology. I think many of you might know the word epistemology, right? There are many violences took place when they colonized people. It was not only physical violence, it was not only the psychological violence, but this violence is very, very important. This is called epistemic violence, correct? Your knowledge was colonized, okay? So this is one example for one of the examples for epistemic violence that took place in this world. This is one of the important pictures that how knowledge was very, very important, and indigenous writings are known for epistemology. So the destruction of indigenous literatures, indigenous languages resulted in this epistemic violence. Okay, so when you read this the cycle, I would like to insist on the concept of circularity in indigenous writings. When you take European narratives, they are known for like linear type. Okay, so but the indigenous narratives are circular in nature, because the world, they believe that the cosmos is very much interrelated and represented as a cycle. And so the literatures produced by indigenous writers are also circular in nature. Next one, Jocelyn. Okay, and the next thing, there is one writer, Mary Battisti. She talks about the systemic, violence. So this book is also one of the important books I like to recommend. Decolonizing uh, methodologies, written by Linda Tuhiwai Smith. She is from Maori origin. Okay, so I also have the book with me. This one, uh, decolonizing methodologies, research and indigenous peoples. This is one of the powerful books that we must have and we must read. Next. Yeah, this book is also is very important book to know more about indigenous research methodologies by Chilisa. So Chilisa is from Botswana University. She is from the African side, and she talks about the kind of, she was very much influenced by Linda Tuhiwai, and then her perspective about literature and research is also very much similar to Linda Tuhiwai Smith. So these two books are very important for taking up research in indigenous writings. Next one. Like our literary theories, we also have indigenous literary theories. Lot of writers, critics are there. It's a very rich area for taking up your research. In our department, we had a very good scholar, Dr. Prabhu. He did his research on world indigenous literatures. He is currently teaching in Poneri Government College. Next one. I told you in the beginning about resistance. Okay, I have given you four important features of indigenous writings, and one of them was survival and resistance. One of the four important themes that we have. This book is also very interesting. The language and culture in Aboriginal Australia. So this book is available in our library. Our university, our department has a center called Center for Australian Studies, and we house a lot of books related to Australian literature also. So you are most welcome to our library in the department. Yes. The next area that you can take up, for further research, as told you, I introduced testimonials. Okay, in that line, you can also think of post-colonial indigenous feminist research. Okay, theories, because indigenous feminism, indigenous feminism is also one of the important areas, because they question Western feminist theory and research. And I also told you about they also question the concept of research. I told you testimonials questioned and they redefined the male, the patriarchal understanding of literature, and also the patriarchal, framework of language. The third one I told you is about research. When you read that, she used to describe the European as a researcher, and then she says the researcher is a colonizer, because many of the researches undertaken in this world about native people were all Westerners. So she says researcher is a colonizer, and the researched is called colonized. Correct? So this perspective is also very important for taking up, research in indigenous writings. Next one. Okay. Thank you so much. So I'll be happy to answer a few questions. So one of you can coordinate and then do let me know. I thank each one of you for your patience. Guys, I am really surprised to see so many, 234 participants are here. Really, it is a great, honor, and I hope we'll catch up, or you can some spark. A lot of areas are available for research. So kindly, stay tuned with these writings. There are many more books are coming up, and so I'll be very happy to come to University of Madras. I'll be very happy to facilitate your research or writing, or if you want to design a course in this area, you are most welcome to contact me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I thank Dr. S. Armstrong, sir, who has given an opportunity to hear his thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. All thanks to your enlightening words that inspired so many people out there. So thank you for the excellent and outstanding presentation, sir. Now the floor is open for discussion. Participants can uplift their queries either by raising their hands or posting questions in the chat box, sir.
Hello, sir. Is it audible?
There are questions posted
audible.
in the chat box, sir.
Yeah, audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, organizers. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, from your presentation, your explanation, I like to give few words, sir. That is, simply, you colonized the session, sir. In a positive way, you colonized the session, and simply, we lost our talk, sir. As
Great.
you quoted a poem, we lost our talk.
Thank you so much. Because there are a lot of things available in literature. So that's why request is, let us be exposed to all forms of writings. Okay, why should we have one mode of mindset? Let us open up our mind and then keep a lot of things in our mind to learn new things, experiences of people who really suffer. We are all very much fortunate, but if you read some of the painful experiences, it is really very sad to read some of the important testimonials. I was really disturbed.
There are questions posted in the chat box, sir.
Yeah, a lot of questions, Josephine. I don't know. Let them speak. Give them opportunity to speak. Let them.
Okay, sir. Okay,
if there is any pressing question, let them. I'll be happy to.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Kamala. Yeah.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening.
I was not very clear about indigenous literature from now, but your explanation about that little poem, a talk,
Yes, yes, yes.
it was really inspiring, sir. It was really inspiring. It gave a very brief description about what is indigenous culture about. So I'm very grateful and proud to be in this lecture, in this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
are
sir.
most welcome, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, is it
Good
audible,
evening.
sir?
Yeah, audible. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, organizers, and thank you for the opportunity you have given. And, sir, from
Yeah,
your explanation and from your presentation, I like to quote a few words, sir.
please.
That is, simply in a positive way, you colonized the session, sir. Simply. Then,
Amazing.
as you quote a poem, we lost our talk, sir, because of the
Oh,
session.
great.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much,
that
sir.
so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah, more than pricing, try to
Understand? Yes,
introduce
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
introduce this text to your students, and also, try to have some books related to indigenous writing. That will be a great honor for them.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for the
much.
information, sir. We will visit your library, sir. Australian library. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there was.
Sir, can you suggest some good books on Native American theorization?
Very good. Yeah, I will. Shall I mail you? I'll mail you. Maybe Josephine will share. Okay. I have a list. I'll be very happy to share with you. And one of the books that I suddenly remember is there is one Robert Warrior, Roberty, Robert Warrior, Warrior. Robert Warrior is one of the important authors for this native literary theories. So I have some more books. I will definitely email Josephine. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, what are the indigenous of India are called, sir? Like
No,
First Nations of Australia, like what's the
yeah,
specific?
actually, in India, we have a lot of tribals living in the northeastern part, and also in Tamil Nadu we have Nilgiris, correct? Kodaikanal, we have a lot of tribal writings, and some of the in Jharkhand we have a lot of tribal writings. And we also have G.N. Davis books. I think some of you might have familiar with G.N. Davy. G.N. Davy has come out with 3 books about the Indian indigenous writings. And some of the Dalit writers also in India claim indigeneity, and that is debatable. But when you read the books written by Ayodhidas, one of the very important scholars in the world who hail from Nilgiris, Tamil Nadu, is called Ayodhidas, Pandit C. Ayodhidas. He talks about the indigeneity of Tamil people. The Tamil, our community, Tamil community is known for casteless identity. That is his claim. So the casteless people are called indigenous people again. So that is one of the arguments initiated by Pandit C. Ayodhidas in Tamil Nadu. He was a polyglot who learned many languages, including Sanskrit and Pali. And his family was responsible for translating Tirukural into English by G. Pope. Okay, so Ayodhidas' grandfather had the manuscripts of Tirukural, and then he handed it over to Ellis, and Ellis handed it over to G. Pope for translation. So he talks about indigeneity. And in Madurai, there was one Professor S. Manikam, a retired professor of history. he also talks about the indigenous, origin of Tamil people in his book. It's a very small book. I forgot the title. Yes, Manikam. So he also talks about indigeneity. Okay, so we don't have in English, but some of the Tamil writings, we initiated the top indigenous writings also. Okay, in Jharkhand and also in Uttarakhand, we have rich, tribal writings, and northeastern states have come up with many forms of writings also. So they all claim indigeneity.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir,
Thank you.
can you please suggest some books on Aboriginal Australian, First Nations of Australian writings?
Lot of writings, ma'am, lot of writings. And again, I will be happy to send a list. Okay. So it is very difficult to tell one by one.
Okay, sir.
One of the books I think I introduced today, and we have a lot of books. And you also stay connected with our department because we very often post webinars. We invite Australian First Nations writers also, and we are also planning to have one more event in February. We will invite some Australian writers. The Australian consulate in Chennai is collaborating with us, and I am going to collaborate with University of Kerala. They have one Australian Study Center, and also Acharya Nagarjuna University, and one more center in Gurgaon, and also JNU. All of us will host one webinar about Australian literature. So you are all welcome to be with us. I will let you know the details.
Sir, how can we get a connection, or how can we get the information regarding the seminar that you're going to conduct on February, sir?
Yeah, actually, I will stay connected with us, and I will share my email with you. You can, say hello to me. I will definitely inform you.
Okay.
And we will also put up in the university website. Our university website, University of Madras website is unom.ac.in, and we also post it in the university website also.
Okay, sir.
www.unom.ac.in. Okay?
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah, you check in the first week of.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you very much for the conversation, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, yeah.
I really appreciate, the way how you unfolded indigenous literature, just simply interconnecting it with this Adivasi literature and other interconnected literatures. My question is this, sir. Like I was able to trace that so much of weightage paid towards Australian Canadian literature. I really wanted to know, we have Indian tribal writers, especially like Assamese poets, who really, fight for a language, culture, and ethnicity preservation. So, and this cultural assimilation and appreciation, when we talk about this cultural assimilation and appreciation, instead of cultural appreciation, assimilation has taken a predominant role in today's contemporary literature. And so my question lies on why is that, like, so much of weightage or illustrations from other literatures rather than from our Indian or from our Tamil indigenous? I just wanted to know, sir, kindly.
So I thought we are all Indians and we are all Tamils. We must read our own literature. And these areas are not explored by many, so I thought I can introduce. Okay. So I request all of you to read our own literature. I also quoted from Tamil literature also. But please note, India is known for very rich literary tradition, right? We have very good indigenous and also our own writings, regional writings are very, very rich. Writings in Kerala, the writings of Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, we have very rich collection. So thank you, Ma. Thank you so much. And we
Sir,
must.
I have one more question. Thank you for the answer. Sir, my question is this, like, while you started with the session, the beginning of the session, I was able to trace that, like, this testimonial, does it mean like this autobiographical writings, especially this Dalit autobiographical writings, the women Dalit writers? So do they also come across, or are the writings also come across with this testimonial literature, sir?
I told you the origin of testimonial is from South America, correct?
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
and I told you three important
Spanish
terms.
word. Yeah.
Yes, Spanish word. And I also told you three important themes are important for testimonies:
Yes.
oppression,
War.
war, and revolution.
War.
And revolution, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Revolt. Okay.
Right.
So the Dalit testimonials authored by Sharmila Reke concentrated on the Maharashtra Dalit women based on one theme, oppression. Okay. If you take oppression, definitely Dalit writing will come. But please note, the testimonials are not originated in India.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we very often interconnect with testimonials, and then we add Dalit testimonials. So I read the book that you were referring to, but the testimonials are from South America, and but many countries in this world use this form of writings to express or to present their oppression, their experiences during war, and also kind of revolution. Okay, so interconnection, it is interconnected with the Dalit problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the reply. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Okay, can we call it a day? Just fine.
Sir, any more questions from the audience?
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Mani. Yeah.
Can you please give a comment or your how you or your impression about the Jack Davis, sir, Australian Aboriginal writer?
Yeah, very good writer. He visited our department. Did you read any of his books?
Oh yes, sir. I wrote an article on no sugar, sir.
Okay. And we have writers like Davis, and recently we had a very powerful writer. I think I thought of introducing a poem, but there's no time. Her name is Anita Hayes. Okay, she wrote a very powerful poem, Growing Up Aboriginal. Davis also read recently, a lot of his writings are coming up, and he was with us in the University of Madras. So the contemporary Australian First Nations writings are very rich now. Okay, so they are also very much connected with Australian documentaries and movies also. Davis is very much involved in the project, and many were welcome to read more about Davis, Anita Hayes. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Can we, other people like us, can we get an access to your library, sir?
Yeah, you can come. You can come and make use of our books. I'll be very happy to facilitate.
Okay,
You
sir.
can
Thank you, sir. Thank you
almost.
so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
Okay, Rosamond, wind up more, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. It It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. As we come to the close of our program, I invite Ms. Sagaya Merlin, Assistant Professor and Organizing Secretary of this webinar, to propose the vote of thanks.
A pleasant evening to all. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. With profound sense of gratitude, I consider it as a great privilege to thank the virtual gathering. It's a matter of immense pride for me to express my heartfelt gratitude to our eminent resource person, Dr. S. Armstrong, Professor and Head, University of Madras, who has tapped our minds into the avenues of global indigenous literature. Sir, your erudition on the topic is remarkable, and thank you for delving deep into the concepts of indigenous literature. Next, I express my profuse thanks to our head of the department, Dr. G. Patricia Alpha Nirmala, who has meticulously planned the event and made this a possible reality. With profound sense of gratitude, I thank you, ma'am. I also thank our department fraternity for their valuable suggestions and constant support all the time. With great love, I thank you all, dear professors. Next, I thank all the participants from various institutions belonging to various parts across the states for attending this webinar and making this a grand success. Once again, I thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The meeting has come to an end, but it is still lingering in the arts that made the audience spellbound. Challenges or agate, nurtures or begin, tending to create a beautiful garden where buds and blossoms bloom, diffusing their sweet fragrance far and wide. On behalf of JAC and the entire fraternity of the institution, first I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. With His blessings and grace, we can make this event what it was. May we rise our flag on high, pointing to the sky, striving towards a better world, bringing Lawrence to the department. The life of the Lord will shine on us all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We will be sharing the comments posted in the YouTube live channels also, sir. There are more than 70 participants in YouTube channel where there were more than 70 in the YouTube channel. So we will be sharing the comments to your mail ID, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A good event never ends in the world. They take only a pass and keep us awaiting for the next. I hope we will see each other again at the upcoming webinar on 24th January 2022. Thank you all for your patience. I wish you all a very good evening. Goodbye.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard.